Good day and welcome. This is Hypothetically Speaking, the voice of Janesville and Rock County, where public accountability, civic literacy, and common sense conversation tends to rule the day. It's November 7th, 2025, and this is the last time I will criticize if the city will finally listen. It's our editorial to spark a bit of civic awakening, as we call it. There comes a moment when civic patience doesn't explode, it quietly erodes, not from outrage, but from exhaustion. When the sigh grows louder than the shout, when the shrug carries more weight than the protest. Well, for Janesville, that moment arrived this year quietly, but unmistakably. It wasn't a headline, it wasn't a march, it was a steady drip of disappointment. The slow leak of trust. And like water sipping into a foundation, it began to weaken the structure of civic pride. Let's give you some history. The housing policy summit we called for wasn't a rebellion. It wasn't a mob demanding miracles. It was reason, asking, pleading to be heard. A blueprint offered freely by citizens, advocates, and policy professionals. A plan not wrapped in ideology, but in practicality. A chance to align vision with reality. Citizens didn't demand skyscrapers or silver bullets. They asked for conversation. They asked for engagement. They asked for respect. Instead, they were met with silence. Heavy silence. Bureaucratic silence. Disheartening silence. The kind of silence that doesn't just ignore, it erases. And then came the Woodman Center, polished on the outside, hollow on the inside, a gleaming shell of promise, but when citizens knocked, the echo was empty. Questions met deflection. Accountability met avoidance. The public was told to admire the facade, but not to inspect the beams. And then the data center process, once again, closed, confusing, opaque. A maze of jargon and half-answers. Each issue became less about content and more about process. Citizens were treated not as partners in governance, but as spectators in theater. The curtain rose, the actors spoke, but the audience was never invited backstage. So yes, this may be the last time we criticize. But only if City Hall finally realizes the problem isn't procedural, it's relational. It's about trust, not tone. It's about connection, not control. It's about remembering that government is not a stage, but a shared table. The city doesn't need another consultant. It doesn't need another slogan. It doesn't need another glossy brochure. It needs to rediscover conversation, real, unscripted, human. Hold forums that are truly open. Let questions land without defensiveness. Let truth breathe without suffocation. Transparency isn't a performance, it's a posture. It's not about how well you act, it's about how willing you are to listen. City Hall must stop talking at people and start talking with them. It's time for independent eyes and ears, a civic review panel. Let me say it again, a civic review panel made up of citizens, educators, journalists, and retired officials, not insiders, not gatekeepers, but neighbors, to review how the city communicates and, more importantly, why it fails. This is not about blame, it's about growth. It's not a weakness to admit missteps, it's leadership to own them. So let's rebuild the process before the projects. How about this? Ask first, plan second, build third. No more post-decision listening sessions. No more rubber stamp conversations. Every major project should include a civic impact statement. Detail how public input shaped the final plan. Show the fingerprints of the people on the blueprints of the city. That's not bureaucracy. That's democracy made visible. Janesville doesn't need louder messaging. It needs authentic storytelling. Explain decisions plainly. Show the human side of government. Let those most affected tell their own stories. Stop performing leadership and start practicing it. Before year's end, let's host a Rebuilding Trust Summit. One evening, one room, no podiums, no scripts, just citizens and officials face to face. Truth on the table. This city doesn't demand perfection, it demands participation. Janesville's wounds are self-inflicted, but healable. The people still care. They're weary, not cynical. They're tired of being managed instead of being heard. You can't rebuild trust with press releases. You rebuild it by showing up. If City Hall shows up, truly shows up, criticism becomes unnecessary because a city that listens doesn't need defending. Now, we've been told that our tone is sharp, and perhaps it is, but truth sometimes stings. We don't invent the scenes. We simply turn on the light. Our rule, fact first. Commentary labeled, accountability constant. If our headlines bite, it's because democracy was never meant to be comfortable. Silence, after all, is the sharpest editorial of all. For months, the mood here wasn't rage, it was disbelief. People didn't want miracles, they wanted explanations. And lately, maybe something remarkable has shifted. After relentless open record requests, tough council nights, and citizen pressure, documents began to surface. Meetings reopened and conversations, tentative but real, began to replace deflection. At the Woodman Center event this week, citizens spoke, and maybe they were finally heard. For the first time in months, hope returned. For years, Hypothetically Speaking, and the Rock County Civics Academy have urged adoption of a comprehensive public communications plan. A unified approach linking city staff, JATVMedia, and community access. Until now, those calls were ignored, but perhaps no longer. This may be the moment Janesville embraces transparency, inclusion, and shared narrative. Okay, what's the plan? Let's create an independent board of governors for public communications. Its principle? When in doubt, disclose. Transparency isn't a risk, it's renewal. JATV can become far more than a cable station. It can be Janesville's civic media hub, a place where stories meet service, where citizens film council meetings, where forums are hosted, where truth is shared without filter. Within 3 years, JATV can be financially self-sustaining. Partnerships, sponsorships, civic education, all within reach, because in this century, communication isn't a function of government, it is government. The Board of Governors must not be symbolic, it must have authority. It must decide what can be released, it must enforce transparency standards, and it must issue an annual public report, a transparency report. Its members should be citizens, journalists, educators, not insiders. We can't manage trust, but we can earn it. The work ahead won't make headlines. It will show up in habits, small acts of integrity, posting meetings promptly, answering questions directly, publishing full records without spin. Between the Rock County Civics Academy and Hypothetically Speaking and our national civic partners, we pledge full support for such an effort. We'll bring expertise, we'll bring experience, we'll bring optimism to the table, but the city must bring courage, it must bring humility, and it must bring follow-through. When community and city move together, the fingers of blame turn into joined hands of trust. Transparency isn't a threat. It's the foundation of pride and progress. This is how renewal begins, not by fanfare, but by quiet promise. We will no longer hide what belongs to the people. If Janesville keeps that promise, this editorial isn't an ultimatum. It's a fulfilled prophecy. Because when a city listens, criticism transforms into collaboration. Democracy isn't lost in one bad meeting. It erodes one closed door, one withheld record at a time. But every citizen still holds the bat. If we choose silence, we stay in the stands. If we choose engagement, we can still change the scoreboard. Let's not call it strike three. Let's call it the inning of redemption, the one where Janesville steps up and bats cleanup. Our community spotlight this week is on Havana Coffee, 1250 Milton Avenue, where espresso meets engagement and civic conversation always has a seat. They're proud supporters of local journalism and informed participation. And Nowlin Law Firm, attorney Tim Lindau. Welcome, Nowlin Law Firm. We also extend our thanks to the entire crew of support that we've received as we attempt to bring civic education and democratic renewal together. Together with partners like Havana and Nowlin, we're building a culture of engagement that honors both tradition and transformation. This is Hypothetically Speaking, where ideas meet action, citizens shape the future. What if transparency was the norm, not the exception? What if civic engagement became Rock County's defining strength? Every moment begins when someone decides, now is the time. That someone could be you. You know, leadership isn't about ego, it's about service. It's showing up, listening deeply, and acting with purpose. 3 ways to begin: volunteer with a civic group, serve on a local board or commission, run for public office, and lead the change. If not you, who? If not now, when? You can subscribe and stay up to date with us on a weekly basis. Our weekly dispatch from Wisconsin's heartland to America's horizon comes out every Friday. Hypothetically Speaking explores the intersection of policy, people, and possibility, inviting dialogue and celebrating civic courage. Subscribe on Substack. Go to substack.com. Look for the keywords Rock County Civics Academy. You can be engaged in so many different ways. Reach us at rockcountycivicsacademy.org or on Facebook or on YouTube. A final thought: democracy is a skill, one that strengthens with practice. So stay curious, stay engaged, and stay connected, because the next chapter of Rock County's story is being written right now, and you are the author. Have a great day.